Okay, so today, Common Core, F for functions, IF for interpreting functions, okay? That's an IF. And it is basically talking about solving quadratics, finding zeros by completing the square. All right. So, complete the square, right? And if you are looking at home, these are the directions for completing the square, which we've been talking about. So, there they are. If you're watching at home, copy them down real quick because I'm going to whisk this away. So before I start this, real quick, I want to do a little side work, okay? If I had x squared equals 25, okay? What is x? 5. You guys agree? What about negative 5? What about negative 5? Would negative 5 work? So x is going to equal 5 and x is going to equal negative 5. Do you guys agree with that? Because negative 5 times negative 5, Angel, put your phone away, is going to be a positive 25. So what we're going to get is always two answers, all right? So we're going to get two answers. And one way we can do this, when I do this, is I'll say, okay, x squared equals 25. And to undo an x squared, I'm just going to square root it, right? I'm going to square root it, okay? That's because a square root and a square, they cancel each other out. They're like opposites, okay? And then this is just an x, because the square root of x squared is just x, but I need two answers, right? So I write this as plus or minus 5. When I write plus or minus 5, it's the positive 5 and it's the negative 5, okay? And we already knew it was both 5 and negative 5, but write it as plus or minus 5 gives me both answers. See how that's positive 5 and negative 5? That's my two answers. So if we know that, let's go to example 1. Okay, the first step on example 1 is to get rid of the square. So to do and get rid of the square, I'm just going to do the opposite. I'm going to undo it. I'm going to take the square root of both sides, because that's going to cancel out the square. Square roots and square are opposite, so I square root the 16. And we have to remember that there are two answers, right? So I'm going to get rid of the square, so I have an x minus 3 equals plus or minus 4. Okay, square root of 16, it's plus or minus 4. It's both. It's both. So now, if I'm going to get two answers, I have to have two equations. And I have two equations. One equation is an x minus 3 equals 4, and the other equation is x minus 3 equals a negative 4, okay? I get two equations. So I said I knew I needed two answers. I had an x minus 3 equals a 4 and an x minus 3 equals a negative 4. So I set up as two little mini equations, and then solving is easy, right? Plus 3, one answer is 7. Plus 3, the other answer is negative 1. Both of these answers are correct. Well, I can check it real easily. I mean, if I check it, if I put a 7 right here, right? 7 minus 3 is 4. 4 squared is 16, right? You guys agree with that? So 7 makes sense. The negative 1, if I put a negative 1 right there, negative 1 minus 3 is a negative 4, but a negative 4 squared is a positive 16. So both answers work, right? So you agree, two answers, right? Everybody agree with that? Okay, let's do the next one. So on the next example, we've got a number just hanging out that it'd probably be good to get rid of first. You see the 4? Let's just get rid of the 4 first. How do I get rid of the 4? How do I get... Yeah, you guys agree with Josie? Let's just get rid of this. Divide by 4. Cancel it out, right? Divide by 4. So that becomes a 9. So I still have an x plus 1 quantity squared equals 9. All right. What do I do next? What do I do up here? Yeah, if I square root, I'll get rid of the square, right? So if I square root both sides, I'll get rid of the square. So the square disappears, and I'm just left with an x plus 1 equals, now what's the square root of 9? Very good. It's both. It's both because you need two answers, right? It's plus and minus 3, okay? Now, I've got to have two answers. I've got two little mini equations, right? So let's set it up as an x plus 1 equals 3 and an x plus 1 equals a negative 3. Because we, just like Jackson said, we got the plus or minus. We have a positive 3 and a negative 3. So we set it up like that and then just solve, okay? So then, all right, this is easy. Minus 1, minus 1. One answer is 2. Minus 1, the other answer is negative 4. Two answers, right? X squared equations will always have two answers. X squared equations will always have two answers, okay? Example 3. A little bit different, huh? Let's get rid of our extra numbers. So how do we get rid of our extra numbers? Let's get rid of the 4. How do we get rid of the 4? We agree, plus 4, so I get a 3x squared equals, I think, 72, right? Divide by 3, x squared equals, is that 48? I don't know, 72 divided by 3, hold on. Yeah, it's 24, I was off, thank you, 24. Okay, so now, what do I do next? Good. Now, if I take the square root of 24, x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 24. Now, what would be nice is if we could put this in a reduced form, okay? Hopefully you remember this. So I'm going to reduce this as square root of 4, square root of 6. Remember doing that? Do you remember doing that? Because 4 times 6 makes 24, right? And the square root of 4 is 2. So our answer would be plus or minus 2 square roots of 6. Do you remember reducing square roots before? We've done that before, right? Do we remember it? I don't know, hopefully. All right, example 4. There are two ways to do it. There's an easy way and a hard way. You want to see the easy way, don't you, right? Easy way, hard way, okay? So one way, the hard way, real quick, the hard way is to bring the 27 over, make it a negative 2, and then try and factor it. And that, it's just going to be hard to factor. So here's the hard way. You bring the 27 over, you'd have an x squared minus a 10x minus a 2. But that won't factor, will it? So then what do you do? Well, you could use the quadratic formula, but we haven't learned that yet, right? Or we're going to do this a little different. Does anybody see anything special about this? I do. This can factor. What would this factor into? You guys agree with Austin? I do. X minus 5, x minus 5. Does that make sense? Okay, y'all pull it up. Does that help? There you go. You guys agree with x minus 5, x minus 5? And I can rewrite this as an x minus 5 quantity squared. Right? Now, slide it down for a second. It's just like one of these, right? It's just like one of these, right? So let's solve. What's the next step you would probably want to do? Square root it, right? If I square root this, so the square root cancels the square. I'm just left with an x minus 5 equals plus or minus. It's got to be a plus or minus the square root of 27, okay? 27 can be broken down. Do you remember doing these? So I'll do a little side work, but 27, square root of 27, it's the same thing as square root of 9, square root of 3. Remember doing these? Which would make 3 square roots of 3, okay? Remember doing square roots before? So really what I have is an x minus 5 equals plus or minus 3 square roots of 3. How's that? Almost done. Let's solve for x. Almost done. Bring over the 5. So how do I bring over the 5? Add it. So I'm going to get x equals 5 plus or minus 3 square roots of 3. That is two answers. We could use a calculator, but that is two answers. How is it two answers? It is a... Yeah, sure, man. I'm so sorry. How is this two answers? It is a 5 plus 3 square roots of 3, and it's a 5 subtract 3 square roots of 3. But it's easier just to write plus or minus. Plus or minus is much easier to write, okay? Thumbs up. It's a little harder today, isn't it? But thumbs up. Sideways. It's a little harder. Okay? All right, turn the page. I won't. Okay. A little bit harder, but I warned you. I told you guys it was going to be harder today, right? All right. Oh, it's Josie, I'm so sorry. Yes.
Oh, okay, alright.
It's okay. I make mistakes, Josie. Here, I just admitted it on camera, huh? I do make mistakes, don't I? So if I make one, just catch it, okay? Okay, you guys ready? Now, before I flip the page, it's so much easier to solve when they're in this form, right? Jackson, you looking? When they're like this, aren't they easy to solve? When they're like this, aren't they easy to solve? So if we can make our problems look like this, that's why we want to do the completing the square. So when we do the completing the square, we get it to be in this form, okay? So there's a reason we complete the square, okay? So here we go. Here's our steps. Okay, completing the square. Move C to the other side. Common factor out A. Take 1/2 B, then square the result. Add that answer to both sides, and then factor it in. So let's go. Example number 5. Step by step. Okay, ready? Step 1. Move C to the other side. So bring the 15 over there, okay? So I'm going to have a 2x squared plus 8x equals 15. Now, I always like to leave a little space here because I'm going to fill the hole right here. I like to leave a little space right here. Okay, step 2. Common factor out A. Now, if there's no A, then you just skip it. If there's just a 1 there. But I can take out a 2. Have an x squared plus a 4x. Leave a little space. Equals 15, okay? B is 4. Okay, B is 4. Half of B is 2. And half of B squared is 4. Ignore it. So, I'm going to put the plus 4 right here. Plus 4 here. And I've got to balance it, so I go plus 8 here. Where'd the 8 come from? Well, it's the 2 times. Right. Okay, now factor. This will factor. This will factor into an x plus 2, right? Or we'll factor it into a 2 times an x plus 2 quantity squared equals a 23. Okay? Okay, divide by 2, divide by 2. I'm just going to divide by 2, divide by 2. So I've got an x plus 2 squared equals, what's that, 11 1/2, I think? Right? Get rid of the square, so we're going to square root it, right? Get rid of the square, so I'm going to square root it. So I'm going to have an x plus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 11.5. Now you can't do much with that. It's 11.5. It's just 11.5. You can't do anything with that, okay? Bring over the 2. How do I bring over the 2? Subtract it, right? So x is equal to negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 11.5. Whew! Example 6. Almost done. Vertex form. Oh boy, let's go back real quick. Let's do a little flashback. Vertex form looks something like this. X minus h squared plus k. Remember that vertex form? Do you remember that from before? That was vertex form. We could have got our vertex, right? So let's do the same thing. We want our problem to look like this. So to make our problem look like this, we got to complete the square, don't we? Okay, so first of all, f of x, y, the same thing. For me, it's always easier just to write that as a y. Okay, let's just write that as a y. So step 1, let's move c to the other side. So I'll have a y plus 4 equals a 3x squared minus 12x. Okay, how am I doing? Jackson, hang in there, bud. Hang in there, okay? Step 2, what's the next step say? What do we got to do? What are we going to do? Factor out a? So let's take out my 3 of an x squared minus 4x, right? Okay. B is 4. Half of 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4. Ready? Half of this is 2. 2 squared is 4. So I'm going to go plus 4. And I'm going to go plus 12. Ooh, where'd the 12 come from?
That's 3 times 4.
Yeah, I didn't just add 4, I added 12, didn't I? I really did add 12. Okay, let's factor. So I've got a y plus 16 equals a 3 times an x minus 2, x minus 2, but I may as well skip a step and write it like that, okay? You guys agree it's x minus 2, x minus 2? X minus 2, x minus 2, x minus 2, x minus 2, so let's just write it as x minus 2 quantity squared, okay? Now if I bring the 16 back over, I'll have y equals 3 times x minus 2 squared minus 16. Now I know the vertex. Opposite. So my vertex would be, believe it or not, 2, negative 16. Now that's a lot of work. That's why you only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 problems. You agree? Yeah. Okay, so there it is.